And it took my being in the women's movement. And actually, early in the women's movement, I was a part of a group of women who were tuning up their cars, learning to tune up their cars out here. And it didn't take me too long before I said, well, if I can tune up my car, I bet I can learn to do photography. And I began photographing the women's movement and documenting demonstrations and various different things. And so becoming a photographer was a big part of where I went from the civil rights movement. But also then I became a personal historian, and I started recording people's stories and taking pictures and working with the family pictures they had and making books out of them. Should I show you one I made?
Oh, yeah.
Well, here's one I made of Beverly Hickok, who was a lesbian in World War, and this is her story about growing up and being in World War II, and a lesbian. And her story, and this book actually is now in Richmond at the museum of about women workers and the work that they did during the Second World War and stuff.
Can we see it? Oh, I like it.
It's really heavy.
Oh, it has all these pictures.
Yeah. See, well,
So she gave you...
yeah, we did several interview sessions, and but I don't know. Before we get, I'm a little out of order now, but
I love it. This is really nice.
and then when let's see what I also did a book called A Lesbian Photo Album, The Lives of 7 Lesbian Feminists. And when I was setting this project up, I was very aware that I was going to have diversity, racial diversity, in the people who were the 7 that I was going to include. And that was very much a result of my being in the civil rights movement. I wouldn't have made it without that. And for some of the women of color, it was scarier for them to agree to be in this book and tell their story.
Oh,
but they did. And then later, Wazir Peacock, who was a leading SNCC organizer in Mississippi, who I knew back in Mississippi, moved to the Bay Area. And we had been friends back then, and when he came here, we reconnected, and we just had such a love for each other. I mean, we were never sexual, but it didn't limit our love for each other at all. And when I think of Wazir, I mean, I know the work that he did in Mississippi, and I respect it and everything. But when I think of him, what I feel is my love for him and his love for me. It was very mutual and very easy and natural. And so the time came when So I became a personal historian, and I was a member of a group, and I met a woman there who made videos. And she is a white lesbian who grew up in Alabama. and shared my values, and she agreed to make this video of Wazir talking about his life, and I was the interviewer of him. And you can go online on YouTube and put in "Stand for Freedom: The Life and Times of Willie B. Wazir Peacock." And did you get one of these? I can just give you this.
Yes, I got one at
the meeting. Yeah. So when the vets go to different places to speak, we give out these cards, and people can go to YouTube and they can see his story. And it meant a lot to him. It was in the last years of his life that he got to do this. And this version is 5 DVDs. Video and editing by Lee Cox. So let's see. Well, I can show you I have here some pictures of the Union women that I photographed. And here's one of women, white stewardesses. White stewardesses were demonstrating. They were on strike at TWA. Now, for white stewardesses to be on strike was pretty amazing.
Oh yeah.
And if you look really carefully in here, you see a couple of black bus drivers are also marching with them. And there's one here. There's one here. It's a billboard when BART first opened, and it shows these white stewardesses, and then there are white and black people sitting in front of it, and the billboard says, "Rise above your station."
Ah.
And here's one of Chinese American women on strike. And here's one of black nurses on strike. And so this is all part of my civil rights heritage. I guess I want to say that I still go to the Unitarian Church. I go to the one in downtown Oakland, which has been having a black lesbian as the minister.
Oh wow!
And is working to be a multicultural church, multiracial church. And one of my friends at the church also happens to be a person who wrote this book about SNCC, Emily Stoper. And she did all these interviews with these SNCC people. And when did she do this? Back in copyright 1968.
Oh, wow.
So all these connections are still happening.
Right.
Which blows my mind. And then I want to. Have you seen this?
Yes, I've seen the cover of that.
I want to recommend you look at it. This is totally amazing. This is a current copy of the National Geographic with current thinking, both scientific and otherwise, about race.
Mhm.
And it's just, it's wonderful. So that's what I had to show you.
So earlier you said that
Yeah.
you'd went down to Albany.
Yeah.
Oh, you went down to, yes. And then your dad came and brought you back.
Yeah.
When did you go back?
Well, I went to the Atlanta office
Oh, you went to the
about, maybe in a week or 2 weeks. I was home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is in the summer.
Yeah. Still the summer of '63.
Mm-hmm. And who was in that office with you?
Well,
Meeting
John
Miss Benson?
Lewis,
Oh, John Lewis.
and we became friends. We kind of hung out,
Mm-hmm.
and Julian Bond was there. Stokely would come through. Usually, would give me